Every stage in the trade of opium required officialdom to look the other way, which for the most part they obligingly did, even as the traces of the business surrounded them. One of Matheson's Calcutta associates put it nicely, wondering sarcastically that the agency's opium clippers have ever been able to trade at all. A European rigged vessel gives the alarm against herself whenever she appears, and lodges an information in the hands of every individual. Only think of the Chinese going to smuggle tea on the coast of England in a junk. Generally, all that was required to land opium was cash outlay and sometimes a touch of double speak. If an opium consignee was lucky, the responsible mandarin would simply demand a businesslike bribe per box of opium, like a species of duty, as if the cargo were nothing more controversial than cotton or molasses. If he were less fortunate, he would suffer a lecture administered first on the evils of the opium trade, or perhaps a personal reading of the emperor's latest edict on the subject, then be allowed to hand over the bribe. But connivance, because of the profit to be made from it, seems to have been the basic rule. One exploratory trade mission by the EIC up the North China coast in 1832 was greeted by disappointment all the way, as the ship, the Lord Amherst, had neglected to bring opium. When, and only when, the clippers were safely unloaded and preparing to return to India, King government ships would, one sardonic observer of the mid 1830s noted, at last mount a sham pursuit. 20 or 30 Chinese men of war junks are seen creeping slowly towards them, never close enough to be within reach of a cannonball, and if, for the sake of a joke, one of the clippers heaves to in order to allow them to come up, they never accept the invitation but keep at a respectful distance. A proclamation is then issued to the entire nation stating that His Celestial Majesty's Imperial Fleet, after a desperate conflict, has made the Fan Keys, foreign devils, run before it, and given them such a drubbing that they will never dare show themselves on the coast again. Thus summarized an American trader of the 1830s, we pursued the evil tenor of our ways with supreme indifference, took care of our business, pulled boats, walked, dined well, and so the years rolled by as happily as possible. From its southern point of entry, Canton's opium made its way to the northernmost edges of the empire. On the carrying poles of small time peddlers and the backs of domesticated camels, in the caravans of Sanxi and Saanxi merchants, who sifted it into Xinjiang, in the luggage of candidates for the fiercely competitive metropolitan civil service examinations in Beijing. Almost everywhere that subjects of the emperor traveled, they brought opium with them if they had a bit of capital to spare. In 1793, John Barrow, comptroller on the first British embassy to China, had noted that opium's price restricted it to use only by the opulent. By the 1820s, indulgence had begun to seep down the social scale. It started with the rich, one southeastern literatus remembered of the decade, then the lower classes began to emulate. The size and diversity of the opium market in 19th century China showed up in the variety of terms for the drug that existed. Yapian, a loan word invented at least as early as the Ming dynasty, the term in current use today translates literally as crow slices, presumably a reference to the blackness of prepared opium. Before this rendering, though, it had already passed through Diyejia, probably a simple transliteration from a Greek term for a trickly opiate, Yingzhu, jar millet for the poppy's seeds' resemblance to those of millet, Mi Nang millet bags, and Wu Xiang black fragrance. All through the 19th century, Yapian coexisted with a host of other references. Afurong, literally poppy, Datu or Xiaotu, big mud or little mud, Yangtu, mud from the western seas, Yang Yan, smoke from the western seas, Yang Yao, medicine or tonic from the western seas. The prefix yang incidentally did not denote fear or distrust for the alien, but was part of a full blown mania for the expensive elusiveness of things foreign. Foreign things are the most fashionable now, observed one mid 19th century essayist. Foreign copper, china, paint, linen, cotton, the list is endless. When the Communist Party, while publicly denouncing their rivals, the nationalists, and Western imperialists for profiting from the drug trade, secretly grew opium to make ends meet in northwest China in the early 1940s, they generated another couple of euphemisms: special product and sometimes soap.